This is the Supertool 300, and this is a scissors from a Leatherman Wave. Going to be doing a bit of experimenting today. See if we can add that onto the Supertool without any issues. Now, you do need to decide where you're going to put this. I showed on a recent video where I added these scissors to a Leatherman rebar. A couple of considerations. We'll go through them again today in case you don't feel like watching that other video. Just grabbing our parsing wrenches here, available at multipartstore.com, to start disassembling this Supertool 300. And then I will show you a few things to think about when installing these. Now, the Wave platform is a bit smaller than the Supertool or the Surge. This mod should work on the Surge too, if it works here, which time will tell. However, most of the considerations are going to be the same. Let me grab a parts tray here. I'll make sure we get everything put back. Now, when we're looking at this, one of the things we need to consider is this little tab that the Leatherman Wave scissors has on it. That needs some room in the tool stack. Now, my hope here is that I can replace this small flat driver here and that tab will sit under the Phillips driver there. Normally on a Wave or a rebar, you would want it to extend past so that it could clear. One of the caveats we're going to just accept here on the Supertool is that you're going to need to open the Phillips driver to get to the scissors. And then the big question is, how well does this lock up on the larger framed Supertool? So I've got that screw loose. Let's go ahead and press the pivot out slightly. Don't need to go too far. We just need it past the small flat screwdriver. So I think we can start removing some implements here. I'm going to try and keep it in order so I can put this back together. There's usually a spacer piece in the frame. Then we've got the saw blade, and there's a small keyed washer on that saw blade. We can see there, and I tell already that spacer is going to come out, so it looks something like that. It's often held in with grease, so if you have trouble putting it back on, a little lithium grease or something similar might work for you. Now I've got the small flat driver that we're going to pull out of here available, so that's out of the tool, so that's what we're removing. Let's do a quick check on the thickness of this, because that is an important feature. I've got a video about what we consider for multi-tool component fitment. Some quick tips for discerning whether a particular tool will fit. I'll try and remember to put a link up here for that video. These are 2.4 millimeters thick. If I stack up the two components to the scissors, let's see what we are at there. 2.4 is what we're shooting for. 2.52. I think we're going to skate by all right. If it really binds up on us, there is another spacer here between the can opener and the serrated blade that we could pull out to make a little room. But we've got the component removed that we're after, so let's go ahead and slide in these scissors. Just going to drop that in over the pivot, and we lost our scissors immediately. That's okay. Let's drop that. Just looking down through the open hole on the top to try and align that with the pivot. There we go. You can see it's seated under the Phillips driver there like we had planned. Now we need to add the saw back in. I've got that spacer on there still, so I'm going to give it a go without separating those two and see if it just seats, but if it doesn't, that's okay. We will add them one at a time, and there, just like that, drops the washer. So we'll grab our tweezers here and slide that in. As always with these keyed pivots, there is a flat side on this washer. It's probably hard to see. They're oriented left and right right now. I'll try and line up my tweezers with that so that I can, without really seeing, know where the flats on that washer are. So that should be in place. I think it dropped in, yes. We'll keep that pivot extended up, get rid of this hair that's on the saw blade. We'll slide in the saw, try and use that to hold that washer down, and then we can back that pivot out ever so slightly and try and slide in the tang of the saw blade. I think I went too far there. I'm going to remove the saw blade and see if we've still got the washer in place. There's the washer. It did fall out on us. So, as it always is, a bit of patience here, and we'll get this working shortly, I hope. For those just joining us in the live stream, we are adding some scissors onto a Leatherman Supertool from the Leatherman Wave. If you guys are members, you can join us live when we do these mods. Otherwise, they come out a couple weeks after the fact in our Mod Monday series, so you can still see all of that goodness, but you get a little bit sooner. And right now we're a couple of weeks ahead, so the Mod Monday videos come out a couple of weeks after we do the live stream. So again, just pressing that tang of that saw in place there up against the pivot. And then we can push the pivot, sorry for the noise, push the pivot out slightly. We don't want to lose that washer though. So we're just going to, hopefully that saw blade's on top of the washer and we'll keep it from sliding too far out of the way. I can see right now the washer looks like it came free. These are the fun parts of these enclosed frame multi-tools. When you get to something like, yeah, we lost our washer again. When you get to something like the Free P4 or the Arc, the whole top frame lifts off and you can build it from the top or from the bottom up. With these older style tools, the frames are enclosed, so you do have to work around those for better or worse. Pros and cons to each style of tool, certainly. Let me back that pivot out slightly. We'll get see if we can get that washer in place and hope that the third time is indeed the charm. Although I can tell you right now it's already misaligned, so we'll be lucky if this drops in place. It is just a matter of patience. Oh, the washer is on. I don't know if it's oriented properly. I'm just going to use the tweezers to poke down in there. No, it's not in there, right? It's in the vicinity, but not quite on there correctly. Let's just slide that out of the way and grab it and give it another shot. I've put together quite a few multi-tools in my time, but it always requires a little bit of patience to get these properly reassembled. Is that in place? It does look like that washer's in place. We'll see if it fights us on the next bit. I'm just going to orient the scissors so that they line up with the spring. Let's just open those scissors up actually, because they are causing a few issues here. With those open, we can kind of press down so they sit down further on that pivot, and that washer is indeed in place, so we should be able to make another attempt here. Again, just getting that saw blade above that washer and trying to cram it into its place. Back the pivot off ever so slightly until that tang of that saw blade pops over the top of it. Hopefully we can get this soon. There we go. Could have lost the washer. We're going to continue even if we didn't, even if we did lose the washer. It's not critical to the function of the tool, but it does help prevent tool clumping. And I saw the washer roll away. that's the end of it, because we're in 10 minutes into this video, and we need to get going here. So let's continue with the reassembly. We'll get the spacer in place, and this looks like it's going to go on the inside, kind of like so. So we will slide it in here at the front next to, ooh, can we get, I actually don't, maybe I'm out of my depth here, because I thought this was going to be a much simpler installation. That's why we do it live, I suppose. Let's get the tools out of the way. So let me open this saw blade up, being careful not to harm myself on it. We can get the scissors lifted up as well. And then we will slide this in from the inside of the tool. That may give us a little bit better luck. The other advantage of becoming a member is if this mod fails miserably, you'll still get to see me failing. Because if it doesn't work, I may not publish it to the public. Still struggling with that. I'm just going to apply some pressure on the frame so it spreads just a little bit. There we go. That's the technique we needed. And we will get that in place. Use the tweezers just to help line everything up and slot that in. Now we've got that pivot up into the other side of the frame. So we do have a tool ready to reassemble. Again, we did lose that small spacer at some point there. Not a big deal. You may have some tools kind of clump up when you open them. But obviously, if you have more time than I have on camera here, you can take your time until you get it just right. So we're just going to cinch these up. We'll probably over tighten it to start. That's okay. Let's test a tool here. Phillips driver, yeah. So over tighten there. Then we back this off until we are happy with the tension and not going to rip a nail off of our finger trying to open a tool. Oh, that's why the Phillips wasn't opening. So okay, let's take a closer look now that it is reassembled. So you can see right now that, let me grab a pointer, the tip of the scissors is sitting on top of the Phillips driver. Let's try closing the tool and see what happens there. Yes, that's what I thought would happen. It does bind up, so all we need to do to prevent that is, let me use the spudger to assist early on. We're going to open the Phillips driver and the scissors. Make sure we close the scissors first and then close, sorry, I'm a little off camera, the Phillips driver. Now let's see. Now the tool mostly closes up. There might be a slight gap from that addition, but it does seem okay. Let's test everything out on this side. So the Phillips driver does open cleanly and is locked in place. So we did get that correct. Everything else does seem to open and lock. You see we've got a little bit more clumping than we would have before that small spacer left us. If we pull up the Phillips driver, we've got a nice little handle there. That scissors does tend to clump up with it. Let's see how the lockup is, because that is something I was not certain about. So if I open these scissors up, they do open just fine. They don't drop in place perfectly. So that's one drawback of using these smaller tools on the larger frames. I would argue that this is perfectly adequate. You can see it does slip if you just push on it, but if you use a finger to back it up, certainly could cut through most things that people are going to use these scissors for. And then to close them, we would simply open the Phillips driver, slide, let's see, slide the scissors past that, and in their full open position, they've got just enough flex to bypass that, and then they all close up together. So an experimentation, not one that I was sure was going to be successful. I would call this somewhat successful. Obviously, if this is a deal breaker for you, having to manipulate both in order to get these scissors open, there may be other mods that are better suited to you, but I wanted to give that a go, and I think we had a somewhat successful attempt. If you guys are watching after the fact, thank you for joining us. I hope you'll consider becoming a member to watch the live stream versions of our Mod Mondays that come out a couple of weeks prior to the Mod Monday. We're going to get to a Q&A for our members and probably put this back together to its original state. So we will catch you guys next time.